Hello. Welcome back to the TTP Field Manual podcast. Joshy and Jonny are here today talking about the latest Crucible of Champions supplement for Warhammer 40,000. How are you, Jonny? You pretty keen?
Yeah, I'm pretty keen on this one. This is a good bit of fun.
Really is such good fun. It's going to be a bit of a shorter episode as there's not a whole lot to cover in the Crucible of Champions once you understand the basic gist of it. So how this is going to go is we're just going to sort of talk through the how and the why of it, what we like, what we don't like. And then we'll probably spend half the episode just giving out some samples, I guess.
I do like a good sample.
Yeah, good bit of cheese or a good bit of ham. What's your sample of choice? A little chalky?
Anything that's free, mate. Let's be real.
Anything that's free. All right, Jonny. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what it is. What is the Crucible? And to explain what it is, we're going to have a quick step back and talk about the Maelstrom box set. You want to give the sales pitch of the Maelstrom box set, or shall I?
Hey, do you like Chaos?
True. Do you just like Corsairs?
Do you like Pirates? Because if so, Maelstrom is the box for you, my friend. We have Eldari Pirates, we have Chaos Pirates, we have Orc Pirates, we have all sorts of different pirates. It's shocking how many different factions like to loot and boot.
I'm a big fan of this box set. This came out approximately a month after the 500 Worlds box set. Very similar style product, same sort of size, same amount of content, I guess you could say. It had a lore book, which is great. I'm still finishing up reading through that, but it's great. I like it a lot. It's a bit grittier, messier, more abstract in its story time than the 500 Worlds was, which was just putting a spotlight on old Captain Titus. There is another campaign system, can you believe it, Jonny, called Raid and Ruin, which focuses around smaller games, actually, not super large galactic map ones. We'll do something about that in the future. And Crucible of Champions.
And some new detachment.
And some new detachments to go with your brand new models, the Red Corsairs and the Eldari Corsairs. Can't believe they went Corsair.
And the freebooters.
There's no new freebooters, but there is a detachment.
Yeah, there's a freebooter detachment. The new models that they released with this set were very nice and are very competitive heavy. At the time of recording, the finals for Adepticon are on.
True.
Guess who's up there? It's them Raiders.
Oh, are they in the top, are they?
They have Raiders in the list.
Wow.
That's what happens when you give us infiltrators at last.
Wow. I find it really funny that the Chaos Corsairs and the Eldari Corsairs are all about like infiltration and scouts. It's quite funny.
But then Huron just hits like a truck.
I don't think Huron would hit as hard as old Admiral Sun Smasher.
Sun Smasher.
There's a page in the Maelstrom Lore Journal that is about the Orc pirates in the Maelstrom. Apparently, the Orc captain of the Maelstrom is Admiral Sun Smasher, who got his name because apparently he punched a sun to death.
As in a son of Horus, or as in a giant ball of plasma in the sky?
Apparently, he just like punched the core of a dying star and it blew up, or something like that.
I feel like that was the straw that broke the camel's back, right?
Yeah. But hey, we'll get into it at a later day, but the Maelstrom is wacky. I wouldn't put it past such a thing happening.
Orcs are wacky.
Crucible of Champions, Jonny. What is it? What is Crucible of Champions?
It's our custom character rules. So what they did is they gave every single faction 3 sheets that they could work with as like a very generic idea of that faction with an ability, and then gave you some rules to add abilities and different armors and things like that to create your own epic hero, essentially. You can have up to 3 of these in a list, and they cannot gain enhancements. So they act very similar to like an epic hero in that regard. And there's some very wild and wacky things, but there's also, in my honest opinion, a strange amount of missed opportunities.
Yes.
Which we will get into a little later.
I had that exact feeling.
It definitely felt half baked.
It's like the half that was baked was the most delicious thing ever, and the other half was just like, oh, put it back in the oven, maybe.
Just for a bit.
Just for a bit.
But who knows? With the coming of 11th edition and all of that, maybe they flesh it out a little bit or anything like that. We don't know yet. It's up in the air, but end of the edition vibes. So for the most part, you like to think that these aren't normally going to get very balanced. And they are very flavor and casual vibe. They're definitely not legal in tournament play, unless for some reason your tournament decides they want to have them in there.
Maybe they want to do a bit chaos. They wanted some chaos in the tournament.
There is a good amount of, hey, this unit that never had a leader suddenly has one, you know? Or this model that we just revealed. Oh, look, there's already rules for that. We kind of spoiled it a little bit.
Model, but
I'm looking at you, Adeptus Sororitas.
Girl on a chair.
Girl on a chair. But you know what? Girl on a chair, very cool.
So how this works is there is essentially a 4-step process to making your Crucible of Champion. You start off with the archetype, which is one of the 3 stat blocks, as you already mentioned, which typically is generic leader, specialist leader, and some sort of walker or really elite leader.
In most cases, this is correct.
In most cases, yeah. Then afterwards, you have what are known as specialisms, and basically this is to curate how the datasheet interacts with other units. For example, with Space Marines, is the Space Marine character you're building going to have Terminator plate? Or is it going to be on a bike? Or does it have a jetpack? And then it gets to go with the corresponding units. Third is abilities, with 4th being weapons. And for a lot of the factions, because just about everyone, sorry, Johnny, just about everyone got rules for such a thing, with a lot of the abilities and weapons being the breadth of options available to characters and units across the army. Anyway, so if you've got a lot of bits, it's a pretty good time to have a lot of bits, I would say. If you just have a bunch of random weapons lying about, well, boy howdy, you might be able to put them on your new guy or girl.
And yes, there is a couple of restrictions, so a few of the options you'll have access to will increase the points cost of your character as a semi-form of balance for it, as well as if it gives you options of having up to this many weapons, but if you take more than 2 ranged weapons, you do start to pay a premium, or more than 2 weapons, you start to pay a little bit extra per weapon, just to help bring some balance and restrict you a little bit.
And certain specialisms and certain abilities do this as well, particularly psychic abilities, which tend to synergize with your army to some extent, or the specialism adding that character that you're building into more of like an elite focus, such as, again, Terminator plate. That usually increases the price.
Sure does.
But that's about it for the most part. That's about it for the actual creation of it. There are, of course, things to consider. The book does a pretty upfront comment about, hey, try and make this as visually accurate as possible and try and, have like the appropriate base size and model silhouette.
They go so far as to say that you can have up to 1 base size larger than the current, like the unit it's meant to be based on or that they're following, So if you have a Terminator captain, you can put him on a slightly bigger base if you want him to look cool. But that isn't necessarily a good idea.
No, it's not. But if that's all you've got, at least you're not going to be disqualified from taking it.
Yeah, that's it.
Do we want to move on to things we like? Things that we really like about this supplement, following with things we don't like as much?
Yeah, that's fine. I was thinking we start with the negatives, but let's start with some positives. Why not?
Why don't we alternate then? Something we like, something we don't like.
Okay, what do you got for me, Joshy? What do you like about it?
You've already alluded to it a little bit. It fills a lot of gaps in the roster, and this can be filling gaps in the sense of models a faction used to have but doesn't presently have. Space Marines probably got my voice today, I apologize. Space Marines probably got the best version of this, with a lot of various characters such as librarians, chaplains, tech marines able to really flick between the various specializations in ways that models once upon a time could, but up until now for 10th edition could not. Or it fills a just complete gap in a roster. World Eaters, for example, is able to now have like a Berserker Surgeon, which hasn't been anywhere nearby for some time now. So I really like that.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a few things. I can think of one, for instance, where a nerf was made to a unit, but by adding this leader, you could potentially get that role back that unit used to play.
Is it Thousand Suns?
No, I was actually thinking about the Nurgle champion being able to give Nurglings OC again, meaning they can perform action.
Oh, yeah?
Which they were originally nerfed out of having OC as a way of making sure that they couldn't spam Nurglings for 40 points each all over the board and just do whatever they wanted.
Okay. Hit me with one of your talking points now.
I like what this potentially suggests for the future. I really like that there is these minor point balances based on war gear. And as I have said multiple times, that is something that I would like them to bring back in some way for the next edition. The way that they seem to have done that is, exactly how I wanted. Not everything has a cost, but some things will. And I think that works absolutely perfectly. The additional weapons giving you an increased cost as well really makes you think about your options. Is it worth taking this extra weapon so that I have a pistol, or do I prefer this unit to just be a little bit cheaper? And I really like that. It gives a little bit of that character, that like list building that I want without making it super complicated like it was in 9th edition.
Cool. I do have other things that I like, but we'll sort of
No. We're on the like train. Let's stick to the like train.
We'll stick to the like train? Okay. We'll stick to the like
let's
train.
Stick to the like train.
All right. I really like how this is one of the first instances, perhaps outside of Crusade, where Warhammer's taking a step back and going, you know what? I trust the players to do their own thing, to build their own character, to put together something that we haven't put together ourselves, relatively speaking.
Yeah, and it gives them the ability to maybe see what we want as well.
Yeah, and bring back some of the kit bash elements that was pretty sorely missing, if I'm being honest, from the last couple of editions in an attempt to streamline the game. I really like that.
For the purpose of streamlining, they have done a very good job. The game is very well balanced and performs very well in a tournament setting.
What else do you like, mate?
I really like that there is multiple baselines. The idea that each army has access to, like your generic sergeant, your generic specialist character, and then having access to, additional abilities, and the customization really helps. Being able to have something that's potentially a little cheaper than your generic, like your actual model, but only does a little bit of the job is pretty cool. There's some very flavorful options, and I do like that they have ripped bits of certain data sheets out. A good example is like the Dark Apostles +1 to wound is an ability that Chaos Space Marines get for this Crucible building, which allows you to give a unit that ability without being restricted by like transport rules, because that's always a big thing with the Dark Apostle, is because he comes with 2 friends, it's really hard to put that unit in a transport. So just like having the flexibility of being like, this is my Dark Apostle that is not quite as good as a Dark Apostle, but does the one thing I care about, is very good. Like being able to fill that niche well. Something
I really like is that within the book itself, of which I'm holding before me, shout out to our lovely friend and Discord community member Aberrant Crafter for lending to me, is that there is a couple of bifold spreads of things that the community of the Warhammer team have done themselves. There is only 10 instances, but they each...
Still a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, but they each have a kit-bashed and painted model that has a little name they've given them, a little bit of like a lore flair, and also a list of all the things that they took, with a couple of the coolest things to me being one of the, I think it's Age of Sigmar, but one of the Centaur models, basically being kit bashed with a Demon Prince. And so the Demon Prince has multiple arms, the Demon Prince backpack, but it's coming out of a horse. body. So it looks like a really cool Demon Prince Centaur, which is very unique. As well, they have a World Eater's Berserker Surgeon from one of the Ashwaste characters as a base. So it's got a lot of these tattered banners, trophies that make it look like this World Eater's Surgeon is some really rugged wastelander, Mad Max vibes. It's really cool. So I really like that they actually gave some examples as well, because some people might be just confused if they were first looking through. It's like, what do I do?
The kit bash potential is crazy. They did such a good job on that front.
Yeah, I'm quite amazed what they actually did here. Big step.
Another thing that I really like about this is they didn't stick to your generic options. Like, everyone gets kind of like something weird, whether it be Space Marines getting a Dreadnought, which is really cool. Like, they really tried to lean into those cool models that are around. You've got the Hellstalker that you can have as a Chaos Space Marine. You've got a Broadside Commander if you want to have a Broadside character. Like, there's so many of these fun options. You can have a Gretchen if you want that can lead Gretchen.
Are you sure it's a Gretchen, Johnny, and not potentially the Red Gobbo?
It definitely is the Red Gobbo pilled. I think even in the reveal article, they mentioned a rebellious Gretchen as the reveal for there being a Gretchen character, which for those who have watched the book club will know all about that.
Oh, Zogit.
Oh, Zogit. Which I think is really fun and flavorful, but that does lean into one of my negatives, which is there are some armies that didn't get fun options. There are some armies that feel like they're missing a niche. Or the one they chose, you're like, oh, that's an interesting choice. For instance, Thousand Sons, who got 2 Zangor characters and a sorcerer. That's their 3 options.
Yeah. I saw that. I was like, how did they get 2?
They got the short end of the stick. Like, they could have just had 1 Zangor and given them the ability to become a Psyker as a specialism. But no, we got normal Zangor on foot and Zangor Shaman, which means that they missed out on a cool third option.
What would you have done or requested or desired, is probably a better word, for a third option?
It's kind of weird, but I would have liked a potential specialist character, maybe someone that can roam around on their own or something like that, or lean into the kit bash perspective and steal something from someone else, maybe like a Sekitar robot that can lead Sekitars for some reason.
Oh, that'd be fun.
A guy that keeps Mutalith Vortex Beasts in order and is just like a warp smith for the psychic models, you know?
Yeah.
You know, there were potential options they could have gone with.
A Thousand Sons Kennel Master.
Their range isn't the biggest. They could have just had a Demon Prince as one of the options. But that's my first big negative is some armies got short-sticked a little bit. Another one that comes to mind is Orcs. Poor Orcs. Did you know there is absolutely no options in their Crusade rules that allow you to take Mega Armor?
No, really?
And lead Mega Knobs? You know, they don't get a Terminator character.
Oh, that is wrong.
Which is wild.
That's so wrong. I'm looking at it right now.
Instead, they get a Gretchen. And then they also get a Weird Boy and a Regular Boy. Could not the Weird Boy have been a specialization, and then they could have put a Death Dread or a Mega Knob commander or something, really silly in there. It's Orcs after all. Maybe give them a Stomper Lord or something, just to be silly.
Yeah, one of my negatives sort of echoes this as well. A lot of the factions have a really good sort of list of options to plug Space Marines again. They even have a little addendum set of tables for the supplement chapters without going too overboard, but they allow you to further customize the core things and maybe add 1 or 2 options. For example, the Blood Angels has the option to get the Psychic Dreadnought back that did not come into the new edition. That's really neat.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you get the Furioso back. But then, at the same time, the actual vanilla Dreadnought option, because it's keying around the loadouts available in the 3 vanilla Space Marine Dreadnoughts, you can't really make anything outstandingly unique from a loadout perspective, but you can do a little bit of tweaking of the abilities. So that's okay, but I'm just a little bit disappointed in a lot of, especially the Walker units. Necrons get a Triarch Stalker data sheet. Eldari get a Ghost Warrior.
That just makes a Triarch.
Yeah, they get a Wraith Lord data sheet. They don't sell me on their existence in the book. When Necrons have, for example, the ability to make a Lord, and you can make him a Flayer Lord, Johnny. You can attach him to flayed ones. How cool.
That is very cool.
But then the Build Your Own Cryptek has a couple of lockout abilities so that you might want to take a specialism and abilities, but for some reason you can't because of, I don't know, some perceived sense of balance. And so the customization's really cool. But when it comes down to it, why would I bother when I could just run one of the default options for actually often a little bit cheaper, because I'm getting more or less the same kit?
Yeah, that was going to be exactly my next gripe is some of the loadouts aren't fun. Some of them are just, oh, you're running a Demon Prince, so you take the Infernal Cannon and you get a sword. And you're like, okay, so it's just a generic captain, a generic Demon Prince in terms of like your weapon loadouts. And I would have liked a little bit more fun and wacky and weird stuff there. And some of them get it.
Some of them definitely do get it. There's some really fun things that I've seen in this book. For example, an Adeptus Custodian character can be a bike captain, but he gets the Blade Champion's Volt Sword. So when he's actually in melee, he has 3 melee options despite being a bike captain. That's really cool.
That's pretty cool.
The Tyranids don't have necessarily named characters, but they have what's called organisms, so node organisms, prime organisms, and macroorganisms. And because with everything, you're able to sort of assign abilities and weaponry available to more or less the whole range of the faction, you can make some really fun and wacky Tyranids. With Votan, you can even make like a Steeljack leader, a Chthonian leader. Like there's some really fun options.
Yes.
But you look at things like, again, like Necrons, with all the weaponry and loadouts, I can't make anything nearly as fun for Necrons as I could with, say, Chaos Demons or even Grey Knights, which are not factions I'm going to touch anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely understand that.
But that's predominantly all of my gripes with the supplement. Did you have anything else?
There is one other thing I will talk about as a gripe before we get into some more positive conversation, and that is partially on this like lack of options. Why didn't they have more potential cross-faction options? Why not let the Chaos Space Marines take Space Marine sort of vibes? Why not let, have an auxiliary options for Tau to take some, characters from other factions and a lot more of the crossover between some of these alliances potentially, and lean into like the ally system a little harder?
Is there the thing? Where's the option? Does it have the thing? Bear with me for either excitement or disappointment. Yes. Yes.
Well, that was a big stretch. What are we looking at?
Imperial agent crucibles can be allied in. We get Inquisitors after all.
You can ally in if that army is already allyable. So, for instance, if I was to bring Chaos Knights, I can take the demon one.
Okay.
Oh, that's one last gripe. Why the fuck are my knights not supported? How hard is it to make a character War Dog and a character Questoris? Give us 2 options. I don't even need the full 3. But what a dropped ball.
Rip into him, Johnny.
I was trying not to talk about this, but then it came up naturally.
Been bubbling in the surface.
It's just... Imagine there's 2 factions in all of 40k, and they turn around and just like, we'll leave them out for this one. This feels targeted.
They saw you buying more Chaos Knights, and they're like, this guy has to stop.
So then I didn't buy more Chaos Knights, because obviously they don't care about us.
Right. I drove you away from your allied tangent there. Did you have more to say on that?
I shouldn't.
Okay. But yeah, some cross-faction stuff would be nice. Everything you said seems very valid. Tau auxiliaries. Some Eldari crossover stuff's a little bit weird as well. You can make a Corsair datasheet, but in Eldari, but you can put Corsairs in Drukhari, but only somewhat. You can make Drukhari characters, but you can't exactly take them in a Ynnari force, which is Eldari. Yeah. It's a bit weird there.
That just makes things a little orkies.
Well, it makes a lot of little orkies if you're playing Grots.
Hey, at least now you can run all Oops or Grots, right?
Yeah, there are some factions that I look at and I think, oh, they've done really well. I think there are some that have a bit more depth to it, especially with the loadout side of things. But then there are other ones that I'm like, miss me with that. I don't care. You haven't sold me. You haven't done anything to make me go, ooh. But overall,
it just, yeah, it feels weird. Overall, though, yes.
Big win.
Very good first attempt.
It's a very firm 2 thumbs up from me, with like one of my hands having a little tremor. You know, one of my thumbs up has a little tremor, but overall it's an 8 out of 10. All right. Should we give some examples, or are there any other things on your pro cons list you wanted to mention?
No, let's jump into some samples, which will give everyone an idea of like that building process.
Okie dokie. How many have you made, do you think? How many little custom data sheets?
In total, I've probably made like 4 or 5 over about 4 different factions. A lot of the factions I regularly play didn't get well treated.
Fair enough. Although I made a Thousand Suns character. Would you believe that?
Haven't yet.
You haven't. I've made one, but you haven't.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that I had a little bit of a play and came up with a 2K list that is almost legal and is 25 points over. And I was so disappointed that I'm one short. It was my famed Demon Prince love. For 2,025 points, I managed to fit 10 Demon Princes into a list.
10?
10. Because Chaos Demons got an Immortal Champion, which is a Demon Prince.
Ha ha ha.
And that would have been absolutely hilarious to rock up with Be'lakor and 9 boys.
So you just take out Be'lakor, and then you got the magic number of Zinch, right?
Yeah, and then I just fill it with demons, right? But Be'lakor is the first demon.
And you have his model, you can't not play him.
So I find out which of the other ones is the worst, and I cut them, right?
Obviously. Well, to counter your bunch of demons, one of my custom characters was a Grey Knight's character, a Dread Knight champion. You know that kit bash that Pete the Wargamer popularized where you smush a Saturnine Dreadnought with a Grandmaster Dread Knight?
Yes.
Yeah. I think you can do one of those really well. So for 220 points, you get a Dread Knight champion that by default gets to reroll hits, wounds, and damage against a monster or vehicle unit. It's got a 4-up invulnerable save. Nice. I gave it the specialism Prognostica's Foresight that has a Scout 6 ability, but because Grey Knights love teleportation, it does also have Deep Strike. I gave it the ability Warrior Strategist to discount CP once per battle round, but it's got lots of weapons. It's got a melee weapon, a Nemesis Demon Great Hammer, 5 attacks on 3s, 14, 3, D6 plus 1. So strength 14, AP 3, nice. Damage D6 plus 1. Pretty good. But it's guns, man. You can take 3. You can take 3 guns.
You can take 3 guns, which is crazy.
I gave it a heavy Psy Cannon for 6 attacks, strength 10, AP 2, 3 damage. The little powerful cannon there. A Sublimator, which is just a melter rifle, but strength 9, AP 4, damage D6 with melter 4 and twin linked spice. And then because I couldn't take another Dread Knight weapon, I had to give it a psychic power, which I gave Vortex of Doom, just to deal with some infantry.
Vortex of Doom.
And considering that you can reroll hits, wounds, and damage, it's pretty good against vehicles and monsters.
Yeah, for sure.
What's another character you've come up with?
We didn't really go into what the Demon Prince does, but honestly, like Demon Princes kind of missed out a little bit in this. It is very genericus. Demon Prince does what you expect. So it's not one of the ones I was planning on talking about. One of the ones I wanted to talk about, though, in the same lane of, you know, that they get 3 guns, is the Tau Battleside Veteran. For the grand old price of 140 points, so for the cost of 2 broadside battlesuits, you can have another broadside battlesuit.
Nice.
Except this one can have 3 heavy rail rifles.
Oh. Where do you put them?
So it's like having 3 more broadside battlesuits.
Yeah, that's good math.
Obviously, you put 1 on each shoulder, and he holds 1, right?
True. A bit hard to line those up.
So now you've got this. Now you've got this unit of broadside battlesuits, whose heavy rail rifles, if they sit stationary, would be hitting on 3s because of heavy. If you've got someone spotting them, they're now hitting on 2s. On top of that, the broadside battlesuit veteran gives them reroll 1s.
Yeah, that's good.
So you can have 6 heavy rail rifles hitting a total of 12 times on 2s with 4 AP and D6 plus 1 damage and devastating wounds.
Ooh, that sounds painful.
That's 140 points added on. And also it has an invuln 4, because why not?
Yeah, why not?
And I just think that is one of the more cracked things in this book, honestly, but is absolutely hilarious to me that I can finally have my broadside battlesuit leader leading broadside battlesuits. So now I want to max out my broadside battlesuits.
And you'll definitely be doing that, won't you?
So how do you feel about a 410 point investment to have 4 broadsides shooting 6 rail rifles? On 2s. And then probably on 2s.
With your luck?
I mean, with my luck, if we're taking luck into consideration, it's doing nothing for me. They're all going to miss. Hence why I need those reroll 1s.
Going to be charged into by Gene Stealers.
The Tau got real lucky, honestly. They've got a few decent options. You can have a crit option. You've got your generic dude that can lead your different weapon teams, your breaches, strikers, and that sort of stuff. And then you've also got the battlesuit veteran who can lead most of the battlesuits.
I like it a lot. I
really like that.
I'm noticing that you went for a pretty high volume of attacks with this character.
I mean, they're only 2 attacks each, but when you've got 3 of them.
Exactly. Can I introduce you to my friend who has lots of attacks?
Sure, let's do it. Is it some sort of Slanesh model?
Yeah, it is.
Hey, because I know they love to attack.
So, given some love to Emperor's Children, which seems like a very dangerous thing for me to give love to an Emperor's Children, but it's okay.
We'll find out.
Flawless Champion, 115 points. Hey, Flawless Blades now get a leader. Amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Amazing. I really like this data sheet. By default, it has Obsessive Huntsman, which gives this model the precision ability.
Okay, alright.
On its melee weapons.
So now we really want to get into melee with characters. Very anti-Crucible of you.
Very anti-Crucible. I gave it the ability Obsessive Denunciation, because that will give sustain hits 1 to its unit. Now, Flawless Blades get to invoke a Demonic Patronage to crit wound on 3s, but if they don't kill a model, someone in their unit gets killed in payment.
Did you just say crit on 3s?
Yeah, they can crit on 3s on the wound.
Devastating wounds on 3s sounds pretty good.
I don't think they have devastating wounds, but it helps them punch up into tougher targets.
But if they did?
If they did. If they did, Johnny. But what has my Flawless Champion got? Well, we start with it having a Blastmaster.
Oh, it's a Noise Marine.
I gave it a Blastmaster, and I also gave it 2 Screamer Pistols for when it's still in melee.
Screamer Pistols.
So at range, it's got its Dubstep gun, and then if it's still caught in melee, it's got its Dubstep Pistols. And why not? I also gave it a Rapture Lash, which is the Lord Exaltant's extra attacks weapon, to go alongside its Phoenix Power Spear, which has Lance. So at range, it's got a mini las cannon. In melee, it's got like 9 attacks with sustain hits and lance and precision.
That's pretty cracked.
It's pretty cracked. If I didn't want the sustain hits one, I could give it the apothecary ability to return one of its dead flawless blades back to the unit next turn.
A lot of armies got that like apothecary ability baked into a sheet, it's nice to see.
Yeah, my idea is that I would try and kit bash some sort of guitar axe thing and make it that old guy with the guitar axe that they didn't bring back into the codex. So I got that guy. Well, who else do you got?
Neat.
Who else do you got?
Another one of the fun and weird and wacky things that you get to do is Chaos Demons Demonic Herald. Now, this is actually a very good data sheet most of the way around, like for all 4 of the different factions, because in this one, your specialism is a patron specialism. You get to choose which god they're aligned with the Plague Demons costing 10 points extra and Blood Demons costing 15 points extra. And then after you do that, you then get a specialism based on which god. So if you go Nurgle, for 10 extra points, you can get the Giggling Balemite specialism, which turns your herald into a Nurgling, who can lead Nurglings. And he also has that ability to bring back models each turn, which is D3 destroyed models if they're battle line, aka if they're Nurglings, which are all 4 wound models, which is crazy.
That's very fun. That's a bit cracked.
On top of that, your abilities that you can add on, one of them is called Meet Your Quota. And this just says, while this model's unit is not battle shocked, add 1 to their OC, which is how we get Nurglings with objective control again. So now you've got a unit of these 4 little Nurglings running around that can do actions, can deep strike, infiltrate, do what they need to do. And then you get some really funny, interesting melee weapons options and ranged weapon options, because you get the Disgusting Sneeze, which is a torrent pistol. It's just a D6, 3 strength, 0 AP, 1 damage pistol. But you also get 4 options for melee weapons. You can have your generic, like, Teeth and Claws, which are your lethal hits. They're what the Nurglings already have. You've got the Tiny Corrupted Staff, which is just a AP1 D3 damage staff that you can whack people with. You can have the Tiny Bale Sword, or you can just take a big Bale Sword. So this little Nurgling is literally the Nurgling who is standing there with a sword now.
That's
and
so
it attacks
cute.
4 times. It is a strength 5, 2 AP, 2 damage with lethal hits. Like, it's not a small profile for a Nurgling.
Little guys going places.
Yeah. So you shove this guy with a 6 squad of Nurglings, if that's how you are so inclined. Or even just a 3, just as like a little objective monkey that can go around and do their thing. And I really like that is an option.
And how large can you make a Nurgling squad, Johnny?
Up to 6 models.
And then you can have them be led,
which is 24 wounds. Yep.
And so how many models does that make the unit?
7. And he himself gets 5 toughness and 5 wounds himself. It's a lot of wounds to get through. But yes, it is 7, the magical number.
The magical
Daddy is
number.
happy.
That is a fun data sheet.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to discuss with me? Anything fun and wacky and weird?
Yeah, I got a fun, wacky one. So, to actually give a data sheet to one of my favorite factions, and I actually play, Sisters.
Oh yeah,
gave him a Reliquant Knight, a Paragon Warsuit character. Ooh. I gave it the specialism, the Absolver of Sin, which means they can be conjoined to Mortifiers now.
Oh no.
Mortifiers get to be in units of 2, so you end up with this penitent version of a Paragon Warsuit unit. Mortifiers themselves the way I run them, is 2 heavy bolters and twin buzz blades. The Mortifier's ability allows them to fight on death if they have not fought on a 2+ in melee.
A 2+.
Yeah, which I think extends to the unit. Mortifiers themselves have feel no pains and a relatively decent toughness and save profile. I spent 25 points to give the Reliquant Knights the Shield of the Righteous, which I'm imagining would just be a Blade Guard shield or something from a Space Marine just glued onto the side, to give the unit a 4-up invulnerable save. Furthermore, the ranged weapons, you can still have access to the typical Paragon Warsuit stuff, such as a multi-melter, but Paragon Warsuits have 2 ranged weapons. Now, with this datasheet, you don't need to go with the roof-mounted storm bolters or grenade launchers. You can just take a second heavy weapon if you'd like, but it can't be another multi-melter, but it can be a heavy bolter. So 5 heavy bolters in a unit with sustain hits 1.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
That's a lot of bolters.
With the melee weapon, I gave them the Paragon War Mace. And so the Reliquant Knight has 4 attacks hitting on 2s at strength 12, AP 1, 3 damage. The Mortifiers have Buzz Blades, which I think are 10-2-2, but twin-linked profile, with sustain hits 1. And so it's a weirdly devastating unit for Sisters, as it's one of the only units in all of the Codex of Sisters, and Supplement in this case, that has weaponry that's hitting the strength 10 and up profile. And it's just walkers. It's the only walker I've seen in Crucible. I'm like, yes, that one's good.
This guy, I want that one.
This one's good. But I didn't look too much into Chaos Demons because I knew you would be doing that. So I would assume there's some fun. But this one gave me a lot of joy. And it's only 130 points. I made a Deathwatch agent for 115, and it's not nearly as oppressive as that data sheet is. Is there any other fun ones you want to chuck in?
I could talk about one more.
Okay.
And this one is something that I think is very good. So, you know how much I love Possessed?
Uh-oh. I do.
And a lot of people dislike that the Master of Possessions doesn't really do anything for his unit. It's more that their once per game helps him. All he does is stab his friends. But what if we had someone who does care about his friends? So to go with my 10 possessed model unit, I built a Sorceress Champion from the CSM rules. And this guy costs 105 points. What does he give his friends? He gives them -1 to all incoming hit rolls.
Nice.
Just to make them even tankier. Because the one thing with Possessed is they don't really go into transports very well. They don't have much in the way of like uppy downy or any sort of defensive profile. And they hit like an absolute truck into elite and small infantry. So in order to keep them alive a little bit longer, let's make them a bit harder to hit. Then we get to, well, actually, his generic ability that he also has is the Gift of Chaos. So whenever he shoots or fights after resolving attacks, you choose an enemy that was hit by one of their psychic attacks, which this guy has psychic attacks in melee and at range. That unit takes a leadership test, and if they fail, they take D3 mortal wounds. So after he shoots and after he fights, he gets to do a mortal wounds potentially, which is more damage going with your Possessed.
Don't Possessed have a dev wound once per battle ability?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
They
a bit
sure
cracked,
do.
mate. It's a bit cracked.
So because of that, we need someone who can actually like benefit from that, right? This gentleman has 5 weapons.
Just 5? You don't want 6?
Yep. If we're going to count profiles, we can get there.
Okay. So 5 weapons.
So he at range, he has the Infernal Gaze, which is taken straight off of one of the other psychic units, which is a D6 attacks with strength 5 or 6 if you focus, AP 1 or 2, and D3 damage, because you can focus Witchfire. On top of that, they took the tendrils off the Warpsmith data sheet and gave them to us. So his pistol options are 2 melter pistols.
Oh, no.
As melter tendrils.
Oh, no.
So his team really wants to get into melee, and now you have 2 melter pistols in melee, and that's his ranged options. He also has 2 melee options, one of which has the extra attacks keyword, because why not? So his extra attacks is an anti-vehicle 2 technovirus injector straight off of our friend the Lord Discordant, which is an AP3 2 damage attack. And he also gets the Staff of Possession straight off of the Master of Possessions, which is a 4 attacks with 6 strength, 1 AP, and D3 damage with anti-psyker 2, if that ever comes up.
So what's surviving this?
So every single one of his attacks does either 2 damage or D3 damage. And he has 3 ranged weapons and 2 melee weapons. Plus mortal wounds twice in a round, potentially.
Plus the Possessed.
Plus the Possessed. Plus a 5-up invuln save. Plus -1 to hit.
Jonny, you know all of our friends dread fighting the Possessed already. Do you want them to play with you? Nah, just messing.
No.
I'm just messing.
Who needs to play with me? That's
I'm
fine.
just messing. But that is a very strong profile.
It is a very cool data sheet. Being able to build your own Master of Possession who just hits like a truck and doesn't kill his friends.
Imagine that's the clutch point. It doesn't kill its friends.
The amount of times I've lost a model to that because my opponent's left a guy on 1 health, and I'm like, well, now if I use my ability, I lose a model, and that's 4 attacks down the drain.
Oh, well. Was there any other fun little things you put together?
Is that not enough for you?
Just asking. Maybe you've got some more fun you want to throw out.
No, that's about all I've played around with so far. But we are very early days. And it was more about seeing what my armies could do than playing around with a lot of the others so far. But I am excited to play with some of the others in the near future and see what else is out there. You got anything else you want to share? Anything else that's cool, wacky, or weird?
The only other one that I want to share with the world at this point in time is my Space Marine character.
Oh, he's hiding some.
Yeah.
You want to hide some for those potential games, eh?
Just hiding them in general. Like little Easter eggs. Hey, come find them on our community Discord. Come find them. Everyone's going to share their creations. Everyone's going to share their creations. Why not?
Nice plug.
I'll put more of my creations on the Crucible of Champions creations chat forum on our Discord, link in the description.
Do it.
And
share yours too. I want to see what else everyone else can come up with, because there's a lot of options.
That was implied. Please share your options. Show off your glorious creations, especially if you built them yourself. Like actually in plastic, you brought it to life. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Our friend Aberrant Crafter, who lent me the Maelstrom box set to read and review, has already done 3 Crucible of Champions for his World Eaters army, and they are chef's kiss, each and every one of them. So good.
And scary.
Yeah, don't forget scary. But my last contribution, stat sheet-wise, is my TECHMARINE Terminator.
TECHMARINE Terminator? Oh, this is going into your...
my Iron Hands Terminator vehicle list.
Your Iron Hands car park.
All armor, all day long. I've been lovingly calling it the Iron Abacus because I just am completely filling the list with units that do modifiers and bonuses across the army to hits and wounds. So it's just like put a little -1/-1 over there, +1/+1 over there. But the Terminator TECHMARINE is indeed a TECHMARINE wearing Terminator armor, if that wasn't obvious. It has the default ability, the Exemplar Warrior. Once per turn, it can basically re-roll the wound rolls, either in its shooting or its fighting. What are its weapons? Well, I gave it a ranged weapon to put on the inevitable servo harness, which is a master-crafted heavy bolt rifle, because I've been playing TECHMARINE and Space Marine 2, and I'm loving having one of those snipe out elite enemies. It's 2 shots,
Nice.
hits on 2s, but it's a 5-1-3 profile. Spicy. That would just kill a Victrix guard.
That's what you want.
For melee, it has a Thunder Hammer.
And I miss not having Thunderhammers.
Yeah, I bet you do. Thunder Hammer, if you did not know, is 5 attacks, hits on 2s, 8/2/2 with devastating wounds. Oh, look at that. I can reroll a wound roll once per turn. Or just the wound roll. Sorry, not a wound roll. But it's also a TECHMARINE, so it's got a second melee weapon, a servo arm with extra attacks with the same profile but more damage. Furthermore, despite it being a Terminator, I also made sure it retains its Blessings of the Omnissiah. So within 3 inches, this model can bless a vehicle, giving it D3 lost wounds back and adding 1 to the hit roll of that vehicle until the next command phase of mine. So this fellow is walking around with Terminators. It itself has 4-up invulnerable save. It's got weapons for days, and it's making its vehicle friends even better. I'm going to call this guy Jorizian Jr.
Jorizian Jr.
You like that?
I do.
Yeah. I think that's all the data sheets I'm particularly fond of. There are, of course, many, many options out there, and I have made more. Perhaps I'll put them in the Crucible of Champions creation chat forum on our community Discord link in the description, Jonny.
Link in the description. Go do the things, subscribe, and, share your progress. We want to see what everyone's up to in this wild hobby with so many different ways to play and build. And, we've been very active with 40k in the last, couple of years, and looking into the near future, it's only going to get bigger. So now's your chance to get in and at the beginning, as things are really starting to ramp up as we move into a new edition this year.
Hell yeah. Share it with your friends too. Share this episode with your friends and let us know how you've been enjoying it. Heck, you can even give us suggestions. What do you want to hear from us in the future?
And go read the book. We're reading Hell's Reach.
Hilariously, Jonny.
It'll be coming out fairly soon.
Hilariously. This episode should probably go out after Hell's Reach's book club is done.
In that case, I hope you enjoyed Hell's Reach.
I hope you enjoyed
Look forward to the next one.
Yeah, whatever it is. We'll
some AOS model, some AOS book from what I hear.
Yeah. Heck, we'll just say it because this should come out after it's announced. And if it's not, oh well. It's Starseer's Ruin, a Seraphon novel, Age of Sigma.
Ah, nice. Let's do it. All right, well, I think that's it for us today. Nice quick short one for you all.
Walk us home, Jonny man.
Well, we just did, didn't we? Wasn't that like a 15-minute spiel of go do the things and the stuff? No.
You're right. I'm just going to end it right now.